So I will provide access to certain processors or to certain identities to make use of my data. I think that the right to be forgotten is definitely the key struggle of Web3. I think there is a big drive to use blockchain technology, but in some cases it's not really necessary.
Hello everyone, I am Sergio Maldonado and this is Masters of Privacy, a set of interviews covering the intersection of marketing, data, privacy and technology with a clear goal in mind, which is redefining the relationship between people, brands and media around transparency and control. Which is to say, we're aiming for real customer centricity, or if you will, human centricity. We regularly talk to DPOs, CMOs, CDOs and whoever else we find interesting and able to share valuable insights. So we hope you like it. Please do reach out if you have any ideas on future topics or speakers. We have Joana Mota here today, and she's a partner at Cuatrecasas, the law firm in Lisbon, where she leads the technology, media and telecom team. She has also worked for 3 years at ANACOM, which is Portugal's telecom and media regulator and one of the 2 supervisory authorities when it comes to the ePrivacy Directive in Portugal, the other being the Portuguese Data Protection Authority. Now, besides being fully versed in the opportunities presented by blockchain technologies and having advised startups in the crypto space, Joana is co-author of the chapters on Portugal in the Privacy, Data Protection and Cybersecurity Law Review in its 7th edition, as well as other relevant publications. And I was happy to find out that she is also a Queen Mary's University alumni, as I am myself. With Joana, we'll cover the challenges of decentralized technologies, Web3, and so on when it comes to privacy, personal data. The Web3 opportunity when it comes to agency and control. Some specific issues like right to be forgotten, international data transfers, who is a controller, data breaches, so on. And we'll even mention the European digital identity. Let's get started. Joana, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
What are the challenges of Web3 or crypto or the blockchain in general, in whichever order or however, whichever level of abstraction you want to handle this, when it comes to privacy?
We are talking about the Web3, which is something that it's a hot topic nowadays, and most of organizations are trying to take this to surf this wave and how to maximize the potential of the Web3. We are talking about this use of blockchain and decentralized technology. There is no centralized services. There is no data silos. So, which means the potential is huge when we are talking about the management of data itself, because I think what is the blockchain, what can figure it out in terms of privacy, it's giving up the full control to data users on their data, because there is an explicit consent for you to provide those data, and all the data management, the data creation, everything that it's supposed to have in terms of rights. The end user, I think it's in full control of the data.
Okay? Very good. Yes.
So I think that for organizations it's going to be a struggle, because since in blockchain technology there is no intermediaries, it is an end-to-end, peer-to-peer. I think this is a huge potential because we are in full control of that, and what is the use of that technology, a data user. I think for organization in terms of monetization of this data is going to be a struggle, and which is on the Web3, on the Web2 basis in platform. It's not that it's an evidence that they're using data to monetize and to stimulate communication and to create new products and to offer new services. On Web3, it's giving back full control on the end user. So I think the challenge is going to be more for organizations, how I'm going to monetize data on these Web3 platforms than at least it is a challenge on organizations.
Good point. It's true. There's no centralized repository, so it's not. We stopped talking about first-party data as in data that the company owns.
Yeah.
And then it stops making sense because data is always on the edge, so it's always controlled by people.
Yeah, it is. And Web3 is actually maximizing this privacy because it's all in full control. So I think in terms of it monetizes the end users. There's the tokens who are actually rewards, where it's for financial monetary rewards, where it's voting shares of any kind. So people are more engaged in the technology more than ever. So since there is no intermediaries, the privacy is definitely optimized and maximized by Web3. But there is a challenge. The challenge will be the deletion of that, and of course the transfers, like you were previously mentioning.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I was going to jump exactly after that. Well, thanks for that intro. It was needed. I have a tendency to just dive in, and we needed that. So yes, how do we tackle that? So if you want to tackle, right to be forgotten or right of access, whichever you think is the one we should start with.
I think that the right to be forgotten is definitely the key struggle of Web3 in terms of what we've known as our regulation. Because although I have the full control, I have given my express consent for my data to be collected and processed and used and monetized whatsoever. Actually, the blockchain technology has this configuration that the data and information that is provided, it cannot be deleted. So it's full transparency in terms of rights to be informed. I am completely informed how my data is going to be used. But when it comes to deletion itself, then there is a struggle. So yeah, there is a limitation on my full control. It's on deletion, on erasure after the processing itself, because it's forever in the blockchain technology. It's immutable. The immutable size of it.
Exactly, the immutability. That was what we were promised. So if it's immutable, it's always there. And in fact, you could tell that couple in New York who stole some, was it Bitcoin?
Yeah.
And I'm sure they wanted some privacy themselves as well,
Yeah.
And at the same time, there was a way to connect their wallets back to the exchanges, I guess because Web3 is not pure yet, right? That's what critics say, because it's not really decentralized. There's always these bottlenecks, right?
Yeah. Yes, I think that's, well, if we see, I think that Web3 and blockchain technology will definitely be used also to guarantee some transparency, some safety for compliance using for banking, financial institutions is going to be huge, because I can really trigger and I can really follow the money, follow all the transactions itself. So it's going to be huge. But in terms of privacy, yes, has a fundamental right. And after all the case law, after all court decisions, after all the regulatory enforcement, I am entitled to my privacy. And if we see the origin of the right to be forgotten, it was basically that. It was this Spanish citizen, after the specific court decision, that he wanted to be forgotten because he wanted to move on with his life, with his private and professional life. Yeah. So I think it will basically to expect how technology will cover up these rights to deletion, to be forgotten. I think that will be the struggle.
Perhaps the utility in the network, in the fact that something is decentralized, that can be preserved by dissociating that from the individual person. So the transaction can be tracked, right? Yeah. Are people looking at this, where you've got transactions being immutable, but at the same time, personal data is kept aside? Then we have some privacy, and hopefully we do not have that traceability back to the individual.
Yeah.
Is that very one-on-one, very basic? Well, how do you see that?
No, I actually see that. I think that's also artificial intelligence will have it will be huge elements on what you said, because
yes,
we can actually detach the transactions and the workflow of not only our financial institutions, but even in retail, telecommunication services whatsoever. We can detach the personal identity of the transaction of the communication through artificial intelligence. So I think artificial intelligence, with all its potential, has also the potential to protect privacy if it is well used. I think that in the beginning, because it has to be this machine learning, which is not the same thing, but it's also machine learning, artificial intelligence to be working well developed, needs massive data. But after that, you can actually detach the identification from the transaction or the communication whatsoever what we are talking about. So I think it's possible. I think it's, in terms of forecasting the risk, there is definitely the risk of everything is so exposed right now in our daily lives, in our communication, in our transaction, and everything. That's how we sell it, how we buy it, and everything. So it's definitely a challenge to guarantee privacy, because technology is it's getting really good actually to overcome. But it also can be used several layers of the technology to guarantee that privacy.
If we separate that personal data, so you own a wallet, for example, or an NFT, and you are somewhere, and that's your identity, and then you are able to store whichever are your properties, things that are shortcuts to, again, your interests or your your whatever, the money you have in the bank, then that data that is separate is not on the blockchain. So it loses the immutability. Let's say that we need to draw a line, and I'm sorry I'm a bit slow today, but I will try. I'm getting to my question. If that's out of the blockchain, it doesn't have the risks, so that it is not out there in a way that whatever happens to it, you will never be able to alter, because again, it's immutable. But at the same time, it loses the benefits, so that those properties are not going to enjoy those very security, for example, benefits, right? The very idea that you could just have one medical record and take it anywhere. Because I want to think about how it starts, right? Who's the controller? Who's the processor? And from my point of view, it's like there is no controller other than you as an individual.
Exactly.
So you're your controller, and then if I use some sort of system like a wallet, they are my processor.
Exactly.
If they were to take any of my data, right? And so MetaMask, for example, could never be a controller, because they don't have their own purpose. They serve my own. I guess as you enter into spaces like these DAOs, this decentralized autonomous organization, you may sort of join certain rules, join a community of controllers with certain rules. All of us are independent controllers. All of us employ tools that are processors. And then, if this is the case, it is our problem if our data is being sent over to the US, for example, from Europe as an international data transfer, because you, as a data subject who is also a controller, which doesn't make sense, because if you're a data subject, I guess you cannot be a controller of your own data. And that's how blockchain breaks the GDPR.
I know. That's it. That's exactly. But I share the opinion that we are going to be, in terms of this digital identity that we are creating, and we are even all the European institutions are advocating this European digital identity of you, providing you the control. I mean, the regulation is really the main idea, the main principle is to give back control to the end users, to the data subjects. And the blockchain technology really provides you that, really gives you back the control. Because like the one you said, if I enter it specifically, if I have my wallet with my information, the information that I wanted to put in the blockchain technology, so I'm in full control of that. So yes, so I will provide access to certain processors or to certain identities to make use of my data within the exact scope that I provide to them, with the limited access, with the limited use that I settle in. So yes, I'm in full control. So it's going to be in terms, even on data breaches, even on the liability on the use of data, it's going to be also a challenge in terms of the liability change, to actually identify who is going to be the source of and liable for a specific data breach if I'm in my own control of my data. So it also brings up the need of this privacy culture and privacy awareness before I enter into a specific DAO, to be completely informed and well informed what are the terms and conditions of the use of my data and collection of my data.
Okay, so the next challenge, right? So I've got my for many months we've been talking about, how are you going to be forgotten? But then I thought, well, plenty of data properties, or plenty of the most sensitive pieces are not going to be there for everyone to move along the chain. So that's never going to be there. Therefore, it's not a place where you would be going to be forgotten, because what's being forgotten is another piece. So there's all these properties that you have in a bucket, in some sort of bag, which is a very loose bag where the data keeps coming in, and that can grow as big and as worrisome as you like, if it is not tied to you. So it's like we've got all of these isolated bubbles floating around with our purchase history, medical history, whatever, family, the toy, the games we play, everything. All of these things in little bubbles floating around, and they're tied to us through identity. If these things are floating out of the chain, there's going to be someone that will take on the risk. I don't know. Have you seen anybody doing anything interesting that we could explore?
I feel that if technology and the web3 and the blockchain technology can detach the identity with the data that I'm providing, with my opinions, with my, with any kind of communication, with any kind of voice recording or whatsoever, what kind of data am I willing to provide detached from my identification itself, I think it's going to be huge. And that's actually a challenge, because the blockchain really identifies you. You are a unique data set of your own. You are an individual data set compiled with all the information that you are creating and compiling about yourself. So that's also a challenge in the terms of what I'm willing to provide and what I'm willing to be rewarded from the information that I want to be taken care of.
So there's always this gatekeeper, because people need someone in the middle to make it easy. And that's my worry, that human nature will always push us to have someone in the middle. And that if we have those two realities at once, one where people really want to have full agency and one where people want to delegate agency, that we're not able to find a framework that accommodates the full agency space, because it's built for the weakness that's generated by the second space, if that makes any sense.
Makes perfect sense. Actually, I think it all comes to human nature precisely. I mean, I think if you look at all the compliance and how it is structured, all the compliance in whatever is the field of law that we are discussing, it's super comfortable for us as consumers, as end users, as individual citizens whatsoever, to have these organizations who are entitled to implement policies and procedures to maintain, safeguard everything that is my relationship with these identities. And then it's also super comfortable to have regulators and courts who enforce those specific obligations and legal requirements. For me, as an end user, as a consumer, as a citizen, it's super comfortable to have those gatekeepers like you were mentioning. So yes, I think it's a deal breaker, and it's completely a change of paradigm to put that all this responsibility on what do you want to actually provide of your personal data to the world, considering that it's going to be immutable, considering that technology itself, it's not really prepared to detach from your identity. So what kind of digital citizen are you trying to be if it's something that which happens all the time when you are younger. You are so sure of so many things, and when you get older, you are not so sure of the same things. All the taste of the music taste, all everything that you have done in the past. Do you really want to provide the access and all this history about you to this immutable network? So I think yes. So I think that the basic ground for that and the basic tool for that, it's education, awareness, and privacy culture. I think that, and also it's not. I think we actually demand many things from our governments on that, but it's pretty much more the civil society that it's going to have to really need to embrace the value of privacy and the outcome of and responsibility of the bad events when it comes to any kind of data breach or any kind of violation of our privacy.
Which do you think are the key pieces for example, a startup or anybody within a bank to follow in terms of advice, if you want to give that, or just tips, on what do you think are the core issues, not to lose track of the ball, to keep your eyes on the ball, to put it like that. If you were to address key concerns and you were a web3 player, which things will you look at primarily?
Yeah, I think first of all, on the business model itself, it's actually something that we call it legal by design, because it's not only privacy, but has a little bit of IP, cybersecurity, including product liability, and what exactly it is your product. What is the value, the outcome that you want to gain with that, and what is the value of using blockchain technology? Because I think there is a big drive to use blockchain technology, but in some cases it's not really necessary, to stimulate that specific product or that specific service or that specific platform. It's sometimes we kind of have this discussion with clients on that. So what is the benefit of using blockchain technology for this specific, So if you find your purpose on using blockchain, just consider all the terms and conditions that you have in the Web3 application or platform that you are going to use, in terms of what is the data that people are going to provide, if it's really necessary, the principle of minimization, the accountability, if you have procedures in place, if people are totally aware in terms of informed providing voluntarily their data, what is going to be the use of that, and also for sure, including nowadays even more the security requirements. I think that we have a specific standard. It's going to increase on crypto. So I think that all these directives and regulations on cybersecurity is also going to increase on the crypto world in terms of guaranteeing that the data that it's there, that it's going to be immutable, it's not going to be used for any alternative use.
Yeah, I think security is a big winner. Maybe privacy will be a challenge, but security, something that I've been, and this collides with our world as well in privacy, something that I've heard recently is people doing consent management on the blockchain, so that they keep track of who consented and who didn't. How much of an overkill do you think that is?
Actually, I think it's a good one for organizations too. Actually, for accountability purpose, it's huge. It's good. So you cannot ever have any customer, any client, or end user whatsoever saying that they have not provided their consent, which is very common nowadays. People kind of lost their own consent management, what I have given consent for. So if you could have it in blockchain in terms of accountability, it's huge. It's going to be a huge tool.
Yeah. Okay, we'll have to see. Adding to all the problems associated with it. Joana, thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sergio.
Okay, that's all for today. And you will find some episode notes and links to our social channels on mastersofprivacy.com. Thank you for listening.